Hello and welcome to Crux Spotlight podcast. Crux Product Design is a leading international product design agency that creates products for a wide variety of different organisations. I'm Dominic Walters and I'm continuing my conversations with key people in Crux to find out what makes for great product design and in particular what makes Crux so good at it. Today we're going to be talking about human factors research. Human factors is important for understanding what end users require from a product and make sure that it's built in to the final design. And today we're going to be focusing in particular upon Crux's use of enabling technologies. And to do that, I'm joined by Laura Morton, who's a senior human factors engineer. Hello, Laura.
Hi.
Welcome to the podcast. Let's start by talking about what we mean by enabling technologies. So please tell us more about what they are and how they help.
Yeah, sure. So enabling technologies are a range of different tools and systems that we can use to really understand more about the users that we're designing for. And these can be used in human factors and usability studies to just get richer and deeper insights into the users, and so that we can really improve the user experience. So some examples of some technologies that we're using quite regularly at Crux are eye tracking and data capture units. So if we look into eye tracking, this can be really interesting when we're trying to develop packaging or instructions because we're able to see what the user's actually seeing whilst they're doing it. So we can see areas where they're spending a lot of time in that area, and this could be because of that they're confused, maybe there's something that is not working, or maybe it's really engaging and they're spending a lot of time on that area. And this is really important why we use technology, but also get subjective feedback from the users so we can really understand why it is what we're seeing is what we're seeing.
So it's not just them reporting back saying, I couldn't quite make that out, or I was a bit confused about this. You have an ability to track, so you've got some hard data behind it too.
Yeah, exactly. We could have like an objective measure, and in the session itself we can live see the moderator what they're seeing at that point, and that's really useful to then lead into that root cause analysis afterwards and be like, maybe we saw that you didn't see this area of the instructions, and why is that, and dive into that in a bit more detail.
And that sounds very effective, but why is it so useful?
So this is so useful because we can really dive into which areas are causing the most issues, and then we can iteratively improve them by running further user studies so that we can figure out which works best for the most amount of users.
Okay. So that's eye tracking, and perhaps we'll come back to some of that. There was a second one you mentioned.
Yeah, data capture units. So data capture units can look like and feel like real medical devices, but they have embedded technology, so we're able to capture different things. So, for example, how much force or how much torque someone's applying. An example of this is on a syringe, so how much force is someone pressing on the plunger rod, for example. It can also do a lot more things like how much you're shaking a device or how much you're moving it. And this is really useful because part of my job is to figure out some specifications. So this means how much force would it take so that the majority of users are able to remove a cap, for example. What is that maximum force? When we're looking into this, usually without the data capture units, we'd be using literature. Mm-hmm. And I find that with literature, there's a lot of issues there that we could be improving with data capture units. So with literature, it can be very outdated evidence to provide to those specifications. It could be with completely the wrong users. So it could be, there's a lot of data on the army actually. And it's also not in the correct like motions and positions that they would be using in real life with a real medical device when we're using that literature instead.
So when you say literature in that context, Laura, what exactly do you mean?
Yeah, so it could be sort of anthropometric data in papers, so looking at maybe how much force it takes to turn a handle, and then we're using that to find out how much force it could take to twist a cap in that case. So trying to relate some similar aspect or movement to a medical device as well.
I see. Whereas when you do it, you can do it in a much more precise way.
Exactly.
Okay. So tell us please more about Crux's approach to using enabling technologies and how it's different from other organisations, and then how that helps clients.
what we're really lucky at Crux to have is such a collaborative environment. So I'm in the human factors team, but we also have such seamless integration with other departments, such as the mechanical engineers as well. And as a mechanical engineer at heart, I really enjoy that collaboration, that I can spend a lot of time on the technical side and also on the usability side and link them together as well. So that's something I really enjoy. And it's really helpful for our clients and also our users as well. They can feel really confident that we're providing a solution to them that is highly functional, very technical, savvy, and also on the other end, very usable and designed with the user in mind as well.
Right, so you can apply your engineering expertise when you're designing questions and interpreting the data that comes out of your analyses.
Exactly, and I do find that really rewarding, being able to look at new technologies that are available, making sure that we're always at the cutting edge, and that's something that at Crux where we're looking to find these validated technologies, and if they haven't been validated before, looking to do that ourselves as well.
And so if I were looking at this from a client's perspective, I might say that sounds very good. It sounds like you can get me some real data from real people who are going to be using the stuff that we're producing. But what other benefits do you think it brings to clients, your approach to enabling technologies?
Yeah, for sure. There's so many examples of on-market solutions that potentially have a poor design that really impacts the user. So if we're using these technologies, we can ensure that our products can be designed for the user, with the user as well. So this is important, where I heard at a conference recently actually that there was an on-market surgical device where the female surgeons had to actually pass over the device to their male colleagues in order for them to perform a use step for them. And I think this just is quite unacceptable as a HF professional. We should be ensuring that our designs are fit for the users as much as far as possible.
I see. So in that case, that analysis hadn't been made, and therefore the problem wasn't spotted until actually it was too late to fix it, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
So you can use technologies to find out what's not going to work for certain people early, and that, I guess, saves money and time as well.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, can we build on that, Laura? Could you talk us through, if you can, I know client confidentiality is important, but if you can talk us through an example, please, of where you and Crux have applied these enabling technologies and produced a design as a result of that.
So I recently co-authored a paper with a pharmaceutical company, so I'm hoping once that's been released that will be a lot more detail to share on that project. This was a really interesting one where we used those data capture units that we were talking about. And this also involved gamification. So the kind of gamification we included was where the participants were able to actually see the forces that they were generating in real time. They could really interact with it, and they found it really engaging as well. So that was a great addition to our studies as well, where participants were actively very enjoying and having fun whilst they were part of the study, whilst we were also capturing that really valuable data and what forces they were producing. And I also thought what was quite interesting is a lot of participants came out of that study saying, oh, I didn't realise how much goes into medical device development and all this technology that you're creating. I thought that was really interesting, that we're really encouraging them to think more widely about how their products are created, and making sure that they're interested in this research means that they're willing to come back and do more research or invite further their friends, family to come back as well.
Yeah. How do you gamify it? Or how did you gamify it in that particular instance anyway?
Yeah, so they were able to see the system that typically only the moderators see in the studies, but were able to have sort of a line on the screen, and they were trying to aim to try and hit that line. So that was quite interactive there.
And so, just talking about that example in a bit more detail, how exactly did it work? How did they interact with the game, or with the study? How did they actually physically get involved in it?
Yeah, so it was with the data capture unit, so they were applying force on it, and they could see the live trace of the force as they were pressing on. So the harder they press, the higher up the line goes, and then it's trying to hit maybe a limit or for a certain period of time, trying to see what their capabilities were, maybe maximally and also like over a long period of time as well.
Okay. And then what would typically happen with that data? So you've got the data, people have been involved with it. How would you then process it?
Typically we're looking for the 5th percentile data. So what could the 5th percentile females be able to achieve? So looking to either recruit for that type of participant cohorts, just trying to understand from the data what do the weakest users look like, and how can we design to ensure that they're included as well.
I see. Right. Okay. How more generally then, because you've spoken before about how the user's voice is important in shaping final products, how do you make sure that that user's voice is constantly heard throughout the development of a product? Because obviously at the start you can use enabling technologies, but how do you then make sure that you're going back and making sure that what you're producing meets the needs you laid out in the start?
Something I'm really proud of at Crux is where we're trying to really advocate for that user as early on as possible. And we try to do this even before a concept is developed, so very, very early on. And we've had some examples of where we've done this in the public domain. So one example would be with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, where we had our Crux HF experts actually conducting ethnographic research in India and Colombia. And that's really exciting because we're actually trying to design and develop to ensure that the products in the future will be inclusive and accessible for a wide range of users globally. And typically this might not be done before, where products take into account the unique challenges that there may be in low and middle income countries. So that's where in this project it was really interesting to dive into this research and uncover more insights and ensure that the users are able to use the devices and also adhere to them over a long period of time. And there was also a lot of interest into what technology do we use to conduct this research, where we usually have quite a lot of camera equipment when we're running studies, but in this context we wanted it to be quite portable, we don't want it to be very intrusive, so we could conduct this research and collect all the information and data for us to analyse afterwards, as easy as possible.
Now, you've mentioned the word collaboration, and this has come through in lots of the conversations we've had with your colleagues at Crux. So please, can you talk us through how you then continue to collaborate with the engineers and the scientists that go on to develop a product?
In terms of enabling technology, it's working with them to design some of the systems before the studies, and then ensure that they can be used in the study as fit for purpose. And then afterwards we'll be looking to collaborate with them in terms of the data processing and the report writing to ensure that everything is reported exactly as we need it to be.
So constantly talking, I guess, is one of the key things.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Let's talk a bit more about sustainability, because we know that's a really important factor for all of your clients and potential clients. How do enabling technologies help ensure sustainability in a product?
That's a good question, and I think it's definitely a question we should all be asking ourselves, really. How can we be making products more sustainable? And even within our own research, how do we make that more sustainable? How do we have maybe a carbon neutral formative study, for example? And I think the use of enabling technologies can be really useful here, such as some of the digital platforms that we have available. We could run remote studies as well, or even diary studies. So this is where a participant can send videos or feedback, ratings, and they also can be given tasks to do, where we can be collecting all these insights all remotely, where they're sat at home at the comfort of their own sofa. And also with diary studies you get the benefit of being able to ask feedback over multiple days and seeing how their thoughts on a product can change over time.
So a diary study, just to clarify that, is when someone reports how they feel about something or how they've interacted with something over a set period.
Yeah, exactly. And we can do this daily or over weeks, or see how their feedback changes on a product that they could be interacting with at home. Yeah, there's also an opportunity to have like just remote interviews via all the technology that's grown from the pandemic as well, with using more Teams and Zoom and that sort of thing to run these studies where where a lot of participants more participants can take part as well if they've had issues with transport or mobility, then they're still able to take part in our studies, and it can be a lot more inclusive as well.
So what especially excites you about the use of enabling technologies?
Yeah, so I'm really excited about where things can lead with biomarkers. So this could be different types of measures that you can measure. So heart rate, galvanic skin response, so how much someone's sweating. And this can give a lot more detail into how someone's thinking or feeling beyond what they're just saying, and dive a bit more deeper into how interacting with a product can affect somebody. And I think this could be such an interesting area in the future, where could we use biomarkers with machine learning, for example, so we could identify trends in people's biomarkers and see if we can try and predict user behaviour as well.
Oh, I see, right. And this is something that Crux is a market leader of, isn't it, with biomarkers?
Yeah, it's definitely something we're at the cutting edge of, doing things that really haven't been done before.
Looking ahead now then, you've given us a great picture about how you're using enabling technologies at the moment. But what factors do you think will shape the future when it comes to human factors, and especially around enabling technology? And how is Crux keeping ahead of the game on that?
I think in the future, a lot of transitions into healthcare come from other sectors, such as gaming or automotive. An example of where we've done this before is with extended reality. I think what's really interesting is we're being able to simulate an environment such as a surgical setup a lot easier with using virtual reality, for example. And I know there's a lot of other areas where we could use extended reality, which are could we use instead of actually generating concepts, we could actually be a bit more sustainable and be able to see participants be able to see concepts through virtual reality headsets instead.
And how does virtual reality differ from extended reality? Just out of interest.
So I think extended reality is sort of the overarching term for all types of virtual reality, mixed reality. It's sort of like the encompassing of all those different aspects.
I see. And how do you and your colleagues in human factors stay ahead of the trend there? How do you keep informed about what's coming in the future of enabling technologies?
Yeah, so it's attending conferences and learning what is the new cutting edge, what are our clients interested in. And I did actually recently attend a conference where they were talking about the future of human factors, and we were talking about and discussing about artificial intelligence and how could that be used as a new technology. Could it be used to analyse the data from our studies? We could input transcripts or some of the study data and come up with themes and just the insights a lot quicker. And I think there's also other technologies they were talking about, which are sort of using virtual moderators. Could we run a lot of studies all at the same time using artificial intelligence to run these sessions with participants and gather a lot of feedback? But I think I'm a bit more risk averse in terms of those sorts of technologies. I don't know if they're ready yet, but I think it's definitely something to look out for in the future, and ensuring that the technology we're using is actually really suitable for the area we're looking to put it in, and not sort of using it over too much, really.
So we need to be wary, but if it works, then AI will help access more people and process the data from that study quicker, I guess. Is that
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Laura, we covered a lot. Thank you very much for helping us understand about enabling technologies and why they're so important and how they help your clients. To finish with, please could you just think of one key thing that you would like people who've listened to our conversation to take away from what we've discussed, please?
So one thing I'd love our listeners to take away is sort of the power of co-creation and collaboration. I think throughout my career, this has really evolved. So at the start of my career, I was looking to just deliver on a solution based on a brief from a client. But now I really want to actively co-create with our clients and also involve all the different expertise there is at Crux to really collaborate and ensure the solution that we're delivering to our client is as best as it can be.
Thank you very much. Collaboration and co-creation. I think a good place to finish. Thank you very much, Laura. Thank you. And thanks to you for joining us for this edition of the Crux Spotlight podcast. I look forward to seeing you for the next one.